Good morning and welcome to BJC Mitzvah A, number 207, part 3, using the Sefer HaChinuch. Mitzvah A keeps us on its way. The prohibition to cohabit with a Niddah. Among the laws of the mitzvah is that which the sages of blessed memory said in Niddah, the Gemara Niddah, that a woman can become tameh, again tameh means impure, as a Niddah even on the day she is born. It says in a footnote, a newborn female may experience an emission of blood due to the presence of her mother's hormones in her body. This will render her tameh impure. She retains the status until the purification process is complete and she immerses in a mikveh. This is not the case regarding a zava, for a woman is not susceptible to becoming tameh as a zava until 10 days have passed since her birth. This matter is known from the oral tradition. The Chinuch discusses the categories of women included in this prohibition. All women are included in this prohibition, even maidservants, that is, Canaanite maidservants, for since they're included in the obligation to observe the mitzvahs, they have the same status as ordinary Jewish women in this matter. However, women of other nations of the world are included only by rabbinic law in the prohibition of Niddah and Zava. That rabbinic prohibition applies whether the woman is actually a Niddah or a Zava or not, as the sages decreed with regard to idolaters, whether male or female, that they are to be treated as Zavim in all respects. Now, that which the sages said in the Talmud and Avodah Zarah, that one who cohabits with a non-Jewish woman is liable on her account for nashgaz, which is an acronym meaning that he is held accountable for cohabitation with a Niddah, Shivcha, which is a maidservant, Goya, non-Jewish, and Zona. Says the footnote, the sages stated that a Jew who cohabits with a non-Jewish woman is viewed as having transgressed 4 prohibitions. That is, there are 4 separate concerns that cause such cohabitation to be prohibited. Niddah, cohabitation with a non-Jewish who is in most instances has experienced a discharge of menstrual blood, is prohibited as a safeguard against cohabitation with a Jewish Niddah. Shivcha, literally maidservant, cohabiting with a non-Jewish woman could lead one to cohabit with a Canaanite maidservant, who, as explained in note 13, is not considered a full-fledged Jew. Goya, a non-Jew, biblical law prohibits matrimony with a non-Jewish woman, and cohabitating with her without marriage could lead to a violation of the biblical prohibition. Zona, according to the Rambam, Maimonides, cohabiting with a Jewish woman without marriage is a violation of the prohibition of Losia Kadesha V'Nus Yisrael. There shall not be a promiscuous woman among the daughters of Israel. Cohabiting with a non-Jewish woman violates this prohibition on a rabbinic level. Thus, a Jewish man who had relations with a non-Jewish woman whom he did not marry, and you're not allowed to marry her anyway, would incur 4 sets of makas marados, lashes in discipline, which are administered in earlier times for violation of rabbinic decrees. The Chinuch anticipates that one might erroneously think that the sages meant that the man violated 4 biblical prohibitions. We're about to see. So again, this idea of nashgaz does not mean to say that these prohibitions are violated on the biblical level. Rather, this liability is by rabbinic law only when the man is a Jew, a non-Kohen, a Yisrael. When the man is a Kohen, however, he incurs liability for cohabiting with her by biblical law on account of her being classified as a Zona, who is biblically prohibited to a Kohen. In other words, a Kohen has more limitations of who he can marry or not. He cannot marry a convert. He cannot marry a woman who is divorced. He cannot marry this woman, who's a Zona, obviously. And a Kohen would thus incur malchus, lashes for cohabiting with her on a biblical level. Okay, there's more in this, a lot more in this. Let's just do one more footnote. For as stated, the biblical prohibition of Niddah applies to a Jewish woman alone. Similarly, the other 3 prohibitions apply by rabbinic decree, as explained by the previous note. When the term Zona is frequently used in reference to a harlot, it carries a different meaning in the context of the Torah's prohibition for a Kohen to marry a Zona. Here, Zona includes any idolatrous woman, even if she never engaged in intimate relations, as well as any Jewish woman whose purity has been compromised. Thank you very much for listening. Response to future mitzvah 36-100 for the gold. We will continue.